starting off with a content warning for suicide, sexual abuse, including of minors. So if this episode's not for you, please give it a skip. On August 10th, 2019, an inmate was found dead in his jail cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City. The official cause? Suicide by hanging. This inmate was Jeffrey Epstein, a billionaire, convicted sex offender, and part-time socialite who somehow managed to die in federal custody before he could name names. You know, that same old story. Guy commits unspeakable crimes. Guy goes to jail. Security cameras just happen to stop working. Guards fall asleep and poof, he kills himself. Many are calling it the most suspicious suicide in recent memory. Who was Jeffrey Epstein? How did he get his start? And what crimes did he commit? And who with?
Welcome, everyone, to the Weird World Podcast. I'm Dean.
I'm Carrie.
Carrie's teased the infamous Jeffrey Epstein case.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all of today's headlines as we record this, and hopefully still is. Or
I'm sure.
I imagine it still will be when we upload this. But so this is going to be a two-part episode. First, Carrie's going to talk about the background and how Epstein got his very mysterious start. And then we'll get into the crimes, the files, and what's going on with that case now, and who we could bring down and who might not bring down, and who was involved and who wasn't involved.
This actually could probably be a 10-part episode.
Yeah,
it's just, you could get crazy amounts of detail, but
we'll be reasonable.
Yes. So first of all, because we have talked about this, how is he so filthy rich, and where, it just doesn't seem to make sense. And I'm not saying it's going to make that much more sense, but I have found out some details.
His source of wealth, to me, is we all know what he was. It was a pimp to billionaires, especially with pedophilic predilections. Wow, but so that makes it less mysterious. But it's amazing how this person who came out of nowhere suddenly had tons of money and had very, very, very wealthy confidants and clients.
Well, I'm going to clear some of that up for you.
Okay, thank you.
So he's born in New York, 1953. I saw something that said Coney Island. So that's, kind of the background that he came from. Okay. Not a wealthy family background. He was a good student. So, some people say he was a genius, that he was really smart. He did skip some grades. He graduated in 1969, so he'd be about 16 then. And however, he went to some community college and dropped out after 2 years. So he doesn't have any, fancy education at all.
Yeah. And most folks in the financial
yes.
In Manhattan financial sector, they went to Ivy League schools.
Yes.
Almost always.
He did not. In the 70s, he becomes a math teacher at the Dalton School in New York. It's a private Ivy League college prep K through 12 school.
Already, you have to wonder,
how did he get this job?
How early on was he doing what we later know he did? You do wonder how far back that goes.
I don't know what the tuition was at the time. Now, just to give you an idea how fancy this school is, over $67,000 a year.
Wow! So $4 a year back then, because I don't do I do those conversions wrong in both directions.
Yes, but so imagine sending your kindergartner.
Yeah. I know. So again,
almost $70,000 a year.
My guess is instructors of these places come from pretty elite schools, because it's a cush job. Yes. I have to assume they're paid very well, and
I would think so too.
And it's also just honestly a great place to make connections, which of course he did.
Yeah, and if I'm paying almost $70,000 a year, I don't want my kids being taught by a college dropout.
Yeah. Wow, Carrie sounded very pretentious there, but it's true.
Well, would anybody? No. I don't want college dropouts teaching kids in public schools either.
Okay.
So anyway, he doesn't work there for that long. Also in the 1970s, he goes to work for Bear Stearns because somebody told the guy that was hiring for this job to give this really smart guy named Jeffrey Epstein an interview. It was to do quantitative analysis for options.
Okay, so he's an early quant before that became. I mean, that's been around for longer than people think, but it kind of rose to prominence in the 2000s and became that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is, but, and I don't need to know.
Okay.
He was supposedly good at it. After about 2 months.
Again, though?
What?
Bear Stearns was a major financial house. You just don't get those jobs without the right to college education, let alone none whatsoever. I was just wondering, did anybody else have a job like his with his background? I'll bet you the answer is, are you joking?
Well, yeah, just...
Okay. Am I going to be wrong about that?
We'll get a little explanation.
Okay.
After about 2 months into this job that he was good at, the manager that hired him found out that he had lied about his education on his resume. This manager wanted to fire him immediately because that's what you would do.
Yeah.
And when he went to the guy that said, "Hey, interview this guy." He went to him and said, "What should I do? How do you want me to handle this?" And he said, "Do what you would do with anybody else." Mm-hmm. So when he confronted him, he was all geared up to fire him. Epstein admitted that he had lied, and he said he lied because he had to lie on his application to work at Dalton because you had to have a college degree to work there.
Oh.
So Dalton thought he had a college degree. And
it's probably like, oh, he's working at Dalton. We know people at Dalton, these instructors at Dalton have really good college degrees. So this guy might, okay.
So he thought if he told Bear Stearns the truth, that he didn't have a college degree, that somehow Dalton would, which this is
That's
baloney.
just an excuse for lying twice.
Exactly.
I mean,
that somehow Dalton might find out about it and it could cause some kind of problem.
Good.
What?
You lied, dick.
So this guy that hired him decided not to fire him. He said he was just very convincing and he admitted it right away and he had this story and he says one of the biggest regrets of his life.
Obviously.
He really wished that he had fired him.
Con artists are good at that.
Yes. So probably in the same time frame when he
70s?
was yes.
Okay.
So he's probably still working for Bear Stearns and he starts his own firm in 1982 called J. Epstein and Company. And he, financial management kind of services. And he was specifically marketing to billionaires, people with assets over $1 billion. And he operated this company out of the U.S. Virgin Islands, obviously for tax and hiding wealth reasons.
Secrecy, yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, a lot of journalists have questioned, like, where did this guy make his money?
Yeah.
He leaves Bear Stearns. Yeah. He, quote, gets thrown out of Bear Stearns.
Yeah. Why? Because he wasn't supposed to be moonlighting or something?
I don't know why.
Okay.
So,
I mean, that would be reasonable. That's an obvious conflict of interest. He's doing the same thing Bear Stearns as he's doing it in his personal shop. That's not okay.
Yeah. Well, the CEO or something of Towers Financial Corporation met him after he leaves Bear Stearns. And this is still in the 80s. And somebody, this guy from Towers Financial, somebody he knew in Europe called him and said that Jeffrey Epstein was morally deficient, meaning he's amoral, and he would be a great person to work for Towers Financial.
Nice.
Basically because Towers Financial was running a criminal enterprise and they knew Jeffrey Epstein will, have no problem committing crimes for you.
It's interesting that they already know that.
Yeah.
I guess just like because when he's doing his financial help with them, he's saying, here's all kinds of scams we knew. Here's some tax dodges we can do, things like that. So they knew this guy was a crook.
Well, Steve Hoffenberg was the Towers Financial guy, and he essentially was running a $480 million Ponzi scheme using false financial statements to exaggerate the value of his company and lure new investors. And so he said Jeffrey Epstein became his partner in crime. He was manipulating stock price, trading stock illegally, that kind of stuff. Okay. Hoffenberg gets arrested and pleads guilty. He says he didn't turn in Jeffrey Epstein for his part in it because Jeffrey Epstein told him he had been a cooperating witness with the government in the past, so he wouldn't get in trouble.
Really?
You know, that they
Probably a lie.
Absolutely
Sure.
a lie.
Okay.
I mean, he was manipulating Hoffenberg
Yeah.
and basically saying it'll be worse for you,
If
Hoffenberg,
okay.
if
I'm a CI and they'll
Yep.
take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
If it ends there, then DiCaprio and Scorsese make a movie glorifying these people and saying, "Oh no, we didn't mean it that way," but showing them having a phenomenal life. So.
Yeah. So this guy, Steve Hoffenberg, clearly hates Jeffrey Epstein now. Wishes he had never hired him to work with him.
That's a couple of bullets dodged, where his career is sidetracked almost immediately.
Yeah.
If they didn't dodge those bullets.
Yeah,
Okay.
and this guy's obviously a criminal
he's a
too.
scumbag.
But what he says is that Jeffrey Epstein sold his soul to Les Wexner for several $billion, in investment.
That's the name I
in
know.
the 80s.
That's the name that I'm familiar with, and I think people who have looked at it superficially, that it was this. He landed this whale, Les Wexner,
Yes.
a billionaire, and that person more or less made his personal, his own shop a large financial services company in Manhattan.
Well, so see, he started his own firm in 82.
Mm-hmm.
He met Les Wexner around 86.
Yeah,
so
he's working for Towers during that period. So sounds like his own shop, I think, was very small still and had
I'm sure it was.
almost no clients. Yeah, and small timers.
Yeah, maybe not.
Relative.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't think so. I read in the past that Wexner was the guy that made him.
Yes, I have heard that too. So who's Les Wexner? He's from Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
He got his start when he opened a little store called The Limited. And then that company, the company that, I don't know the name of his company, but that owned The Limited ends up buying Abercrombie & Fitch and Victoria's Secret. And
so classics.
Les Wexner becomes a billionaire.
Yeah.
And he meets Jeffrey Epstein somehow. I haven't found out how they met.
I have an idea.
Maybe through one of these other companies, or maybe he just marketed to him because he was a billionaire.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe, or maybe not. Maybe something social, and maybe something they
Could
started
be.
talking about common interest, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, I do know what you're saying, but I don't know. So
I don't either. But
Les Wexner, and this is astounding to people who knew Les Wexner, who I think is still alive, right?
yeah, I don't know.
He's very old, but he's still alive. He gives Jeffrey Epstein power of attorney over his financial
Jesus
affairs.
Christ.
And this is what's astounding to people.
Yeah, it should be.
And
You don't do that with your financial advisor. That makes
not when
no
you're
sense.
a flipping billionaire, you don't.
Yeah, you don't do that at all.
So a lot of people do, and then they lose
it's always
millions
a
and
mistake.
millions of
How's
money.
that?
Yeah. So the people that know him refer to Jeffrey Epstein as, quote, the boyfriend.
Of Wexner.
Yes.
Intriguing.
And between 1991 and 2006, Jeffrey Epstein oversaw the sale of more than $1.3 billion of limited stock.
And he's taking cuts. He's made wealthy mainly through Wexner's patronage.
Yes.
Patronage. I mean, I'm sure he made good money with Tower and doing his scams and things like that. I'm sure he made money, but he wasn't filthy rich until Wexner.
But I also have to imagine he's doing shenanigans.
Oh, for sure.
He's doing insider trading.
I think he's also,
and,
my guess is during that whole period you said, 91 and 2006, and even before that, I'm speculating, but I think he's already doing what he later became famous for doing. I think he started it already on a lower scale, probably locally in Manhattan still, but I think he's already starting to pimp.
I mean, I have no reason to say that's
again,
not true.
Completely speculating, but I think that's why Wexner hired him.
Okay. Well, Les Wexner cuts ties with Jeffrey Epstein in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what he said in 2019 when people were asking him. He said it's because he discovered that Jeffrey Epstein had stolen more than $46 million from him.
I believe that. Notice the timing, too, as you'll get to later. That's after 2005 when everyone knew what this guy was up to. Wexner did not fire him like, oh, my God, I'm aghast.
Of course not.
But he did 2007 when he found out he was stealing from him, which, again, implies Wexner was at least very okay with what Epstein was doing, if not started it.
But also, somebody steals $46 million from me and I just fire him and let it go.
Because he knows a lot of things about Les Wexner.
Exactly. He said he was embarrassed.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just, you're embarrassed that you let somebody steal your money. Okay.
So embarrassing.
And
But you know what? It's just a game. Go ahead. Jeff, good on you.
He also said that Jeffrey Epstein was sick, cunning, and depraved.
Well, I agreed, but...
It's also kind of interesting that Epstein owns 7-story, I think it was 7-story, townhome in Manhattan.
That's a lot of stairs. Is there an elevator? Damn.
I don't know if there's an elevator. It's like 50 feet wide. So it's not super wide, but it's very tall.
Yeah.
And it's worth about $77 million.
Good Lord.
He did not buy this with his own money. It was a gift
from
Les Wexner.
Again, why? What's going on in that 7-story townhome? I think Epstein's pimping started very early on after he met Les Wexner. I think that's where it took place before they moved on to the private island and the yachts and things like that.
And for reasons that have never been explained, Wexner transferred the title to him for $0 sometime around 1996. So this beautiful home, I mean, it has an interesting history if anybody cares to go look it up. Not very relevant for us. But it's 21,000 square feet. And when Wexner owned it, I don't think Wexner ever lived in it, but he renovated it because it had been like a school and, like some kind of asylum even maybe. So
that place is for sure haunted.
Yeah, probably. But he purchased it. Wexner purchased it for $13 million, which was at the time, it was 1962. It was a record
good Lord,
amount. Yeah.
Oh my God. That is $7 trillion in today's money. Good Lord.
Yeah.
$13 million in 62 for a Manhattan townhouse, even a big, beautiful, oh my, yeah. So you don't give those things away even when you're a billionaire. Without
Oh, wait,
reason.
I'm sorry. I lied.
Oh, well.
He didn't purchase it in 62. He purchased it in 89.
Okay. That's 27 years of difference. That's still inexpensive, but not quite. That did sound ridiculous.
Yeah.
$13 million in 62.
Yeah. But it was $13 million in 89, and it was it wasn't like a beautiful, I mean, it needed a lot of renovations and stuff.
It's in Manhattan, and it's how many thousands? 21,000
21,000 square feet. Yeah. Yes. So Wexner renovates it, and he fills it with beautiful artworks like by Picasso and stuff like that, and makes it like the cover. It was in the cover of Architectural Digest, and then Epstein moves in, and he doesn't have such highbrow interior design taste. People describe chairs upholstered in leopard print.
Nice.
A twice life-sized sculpture of a naked African warrior.
The kinds of things he is using that townhome for were different than when Les lived there.
A framed picture of a woman holding an opium pipe and caressing a lion skin.
Sure.
He also had photographs of, real people that supposedly were his friends or acquaintances, including Woody Allen, Bill Clinton.
Okay. Not shocking.
Bill Clinton.
Also not shocking.
And Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia.
Very not shocking.
And he also had a life-size female doll hanging from a chandelier. Interesting.
I know she didn't mention Donald Trump on that last list, but they were already very good friends by this period.
Yeah,
they were very good friends in the 80s, let alone the 90s and into the 2000s.
And then he had a mural on the terrace that spanned the whole length of the building, and it was of a prison yard with barbed wire and guard towers and inmates exercising. And this obviously comes much later, but one of those inmates is him.
Really?
Yes. And then he also has like a massage room with a massage table with, sex toys and lubricants and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, the whole by this point, or at least portions of the townhome are just there for the orgies.
Yes. Well,
the parties and the ensuing activities.
Yes. So he has several properties. I don't know when he gets them all, but we know he ends up buying an island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. In fact, he buys 2. The first one is Little St. James, I think it's called, and it's like 71
Acres.
acres, yes. And that's where his big estate is, and that's his official residence is there. He has the townhome in Manhattan. He has a huge estate in New Mexico called Zorro Ranch. And then he has a big, like a mansion in Palm Beach. Mm-hmm. So he ends up spending a lot of time, it seems like, in Palm Beach. Mm-hmm. And he gets into a little bit of trouble there.
What year is it now?
Well,
in 2000s yet?
Well, I mean, I don't know when he starts going there, probably before the 2000s.
Well, sure,
yeah.
In
1996, a woman that he had hired to help with acquiring art and stuff, because she's an artist. Mm-hmm. Her name is Maria Farmer. He's introduced to her through somebody at her art school, and he buys some of her art. And then he hires her to, quote, manage the door of the new townhome in New York. Because, people doing renovations are coming in and out. Okay, so she's working for him, and, it's creepy and weird. And
does she say so? I mean,
yes.
Okay.
And she has a teenage sister. And I know. And
it's not the guy wanting to bring your teenage sister around.
No. So she introduces her sister to them at some point, and
them being Epstein and Wexner?
No, Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
So Ghislaine Maxwell was already with him. You didn't introduce her.
No, I didn't. But everybody's heard of her.
Okay, well, still, when did she? Do you know when did she become part of his entourage or became his confidant?
I don't know when they meet. To be honest.
So it's 96, so sometime.
Yeah, probably before. I mean, obviously before this. She was his girlfriend at one point, and he describes her in, sometimes she's his best friend, sometimes she's his girlfriend, sometimes she's his main girlfriend, So clearly, they never married, and I think it seems like a very weird, messed up kind of relationship.
Yeah. And by the way, that's the one you've seen spelled Ghislaine Maxwell, but apparently it's pronounced without the S. So S is silent.
Ghislaine I've heard like Ghislaine is how it's, but I also heard Ghislaine. But so
just call her pedophile.
Yeah.
And pimp.
Yeah.
Pimpette.
So, well, actually, Ghislaine and Epstein were creepy, weird sexually with Maria, the artist. She's like 22 or something like that. She's fairly young. And they meet her sister, and what they do with young women is teenagers. They say, we really like you. We want to help you with your education. Okay. And so these are usually girls who don't come from wealthy families. They don't have a lot of money. And this very wealthy sort of, upper crust kind of man is offering to pay for your education and stuff like that.
Lives in a townhome with, naked women, naked dolls and things like that, and sex toys, and it's probably sex dungeons. And I mean, come on.
Well, they offered her some opportunity to go to Thailand and Vietnam.
Okay, not a good sign.
Huge red flag if I'm an older sister. Yep. There's never any talk about parents, about what these girls' parents were doing. Not that it's their fault, but
maybe they are not in New York.
Yeah.
So the Maria, 22 years old, took her sister with her to in New York.
And Maria was doing art. Her art was she was doing a painting series of teenage girls, and it was sort of like a thing about adolescence. And she had two younger sisters, one that was 16 or 17 and one that was 12. And she had taken pictures of them as references for her art. And it's not creepy when in that context, but she discovered that some of the photographs of her sisters were missing.
Mm-hmm. Now it's creepy.
Yes. So,
and she's still letting her 17-year-old sister go to Vietnam and Thailand. Yikes.
Well, she found this out after that. In fact, because he offered her some artist in residency at his New Mexico estate. So that's where she was.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Get her out of the way.
Yeah. So
she's too old anyway.
So after she discovers that those photographs are missing, she gets extremely concerned and she asks her younger sister, "Hey, did anything happen with you and Jeffrey and Ghislaine?" And her sister said yes. So her sister apparently wasn't going to tell her unless she asked. Everybody thinks they're the only victim. And so I think that's a big reason why all of this happens, which is completely understandable. So she is particularly freaked out because the youngest sister is only 12. And she...
But you're talking about the older, the 17-year-old sister that she was talking to about that, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the 12-year-old.
They've never met the 12-year-old.
Okay.
So she's not involved. But,
she was
she's
on
in the
their
pictures.
radar for sure.
Yeah. So when she confronts them about it, Jeffrey Epstein basically offers her whatever she wants. What do you want? I'll give it to you, to basically don't make a big deal out of this kind of thing. And she said, I don't want anything. And she went to the New York Police Department and they said, we don't have any jurisdiction. These things happened in New Mexico. And I don't know why I said in my notes, I have New Mexico and Ohio. I don't know what happened in Ohio. Oh, Ohio. Yeah. They brought her, the 17-year-old sister, initially to Les Wexner's estate.
In Ohio.
So some creepy stuff happened there.
There you go.
Yeah. In like a guest house or something like that.
Okay, so you don't think, because earlier you were kind of implying, I don't know about Lex. Of course Lex Wexner was doing this. Lex Wexner started this thing. He found someone to be his pimp.
Yeah. I mean, possibly.
Fact.
I don't.
Period,
Yeah.
for sure. And then Jeffrey Epstein found Ghislaine Maxwell because he needed a female to help him procure. That someone, these young girls were more likely to trust a female than this creepy dude. So, I mean, her role was pivotal because she was a procurer. She was a finder. She would go out and find them.
She did it a ton.
Yeah.
And so, but the NYPD told her that they didn't have jurisdiction, which they didn't. And they said, you should go to the FBI. So she went to the FBI and she told them what happened. And then nothing happened.
Yeah, nothing. I'm not surprised.
I don't think they ever even contacted her.
Because he's not only rich and powerful by now, but he is connected to people who are much more rich and powerful than he is. And that's what happens. By the way, I've realized now that we haven't, I know we're assuming everybody knows what's going on, but Jeffrey Epstein is the person that was essentially organizing parties and sexual encounters with many underage women, some of them sex workers, many of them not, for years and years and years in New York and on his private island and in yachts. And he has alleged that there is a long list of some very, very high profile people, both rich and famous and or just famous, who were involved in this. Just so you know, in case, because we haven't really talked about what, specifically, explicitly, what he did.
Yeah. I also forgot one of his properties. He has an apartment in Paris.
Okay, thank you for that.
So there was also shenanigans in Paris.
Okay. So he's a pedophile on multiple continents.
Yes. Okay. So right around this time, an investigative reporter named Vicky Ward was doing an article for Vanity Fair, and it was supposed to be like, who is this mysterious billionaire, Jeffrey Epstein?
When was this now?
In the mid-90s.
Mid-90s, okay.
Because he was well known.
Yeah.
People knew about him.
But again, it's like, who's his clients? I don't know. I read somebody who's like Lex Wexner. He had a couple other minor league clients. It's like, why is this guy such a player and so rich and have this in one of the most expensive houses in Manhattan?
But that wasn't the vibe of this thing.
Okay.
It was like, he's a well-known, well-connected, he's seen around town with, very prominent people. He seemed a little bit introverted in that, he seemed a little bit shy even to a lot of people in, the way he was out in public. He'd go around in sweats a lot. And because he used Ghislaine Maxwell to do all of the, hobnobbing and inviting people and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so it was just like, who is this guy? And, like this kind of, man of mystery kind of thing. And so that was what her piece was going to be. It was going to be a fluff piece about a billionaire in New York City.
But I wasn't a true billionaire by then, but go ahead.
No.
He was very rich.
So she finds out about Maria Farmer, the artist, and her sisters, and she talks to them, and she's going to include it in her piece. So it's basically
What magazine?
Vanity Fair.
Vanity Fair, okay.
So it's basically accusations of sexual assault and impropriety. When journalists are doing articles like this, they have to do fact checking, and they usually call the person to confirm
Honestly,
things.
they absolutely should not. Because all you're doing is tipping them off, and they're going to either use it against you, or they're going to start bribing people, things like that.
Correct.
I know you have to.
In fair
honestly,
journalism, though.
you should. Because remember, Donald Trump Jr. did that once when I can't remember what it was, but they called him for a quote before they're going to publish the next morning, and before they published, they jumped on it and tried to turn it around. We live in a time where you can't do that anymore. I know it's the ethical journalistic thing to do, but it's a mistake.
Yeah. Well, and what you could do is you don't have to call them. You could call other people to try to fact check it or whatever.
You should do nothing that's going to tip them off.
Yeah.
Make sure your facts are true, but don't tip them off.
Well, what he said was those girls were all infatuated with him.
Yeah,
and they were obsessed with him. And so they were lying. It was like they wanted revenge because he didn't give them what they wanted.
Interesting when it's always 25 women lying, but one guy telling the truth.
And he basically warned her, if I don't like your article about me, he would have a witch doctor put a hex on her unborn twins because she was pregnant at the time.
I'd be like so relieved. Oh, I thought you were going to legit scare me with something like, some important people, maybe some mobs or something like that. No, but the hex, knock yourself out.
I know. But he also told her he knew all the doctors in all the hospitals in New York.
They will kill your twins.
That's a lot of doctors.
I say so. That's a lot.
And that it, quote, wouldn't go well for her and her family.
Good Lord.
I'm sure he also threatened her in more, specific ways.
But my favorite is the witch doctor.
She was worried and scared.
I don't blame her.
And I don't blame her either. People. He is very powerful. But essentially, the editor or the person in charge of Vanity Fair told her to take all that stuff out of the story. Yeah. This is just going to be a piece about a billionaire businessman. There were some reports that like he had some kind of severed animal head, delivered to his house or something like that.
Who did? The editor?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
He was threatened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Who knows? It could be a threat about, I'll just
sue the shit out of you, and you can't prove it. Well, still, if you do have people who are on the record saying this was happened, you're not going to lose that libel suit.
Well, that guy, that editor, his official story is that part was added too soon to publishing time, and we didn't have time to make sure it was all accurate and everything like that. So we couldn't go forward with it.
Then follow up and take your time and
do
follow
a new story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't, did you?
Clearly. And then Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell found out that Maria had gone to the FBI, and they started threatening her, and Ghislaine Maxwell a lot of threats. She was very scared. She said she had to move a lot. She changed her name. Yeah, Maria. Now she's very vocal and will give interviews and stuff. So that was in the mid-90s. You asked me when he started the Florida stuff. He bought that estate in 1990.
1990, that far back. Okay.
Yeah. So he already had it. He paid $15 to $20 million for it. And it's basically in Palm Beach is very expensive real estate. Yeah. Lots of mansions, lots of yachts. A lot of very, very wealthy people live there. West Palm Beach, and that's an island, right? Is Palm Beach an island?
I think. I'm not positive.
I think it might be.
I don't know.
West Palm Beach, because I think you have to go over a long bridge to get there.
West Palm's like old Jewish people.
West Palm Beach?
I think so.
Very working class. Lots of trailer parks.
Retired.
Probably.
New Yorkers.
But also, less wealth.
Yeah,
not
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I know a little bit West Palm because West Palm was one of those places where remember the 2000 election and the butterfly ballot with Bush and Gore where West Palm.
Oh, is that the hanging chad?
No, it was different. They
okay.
used a butterfly ballot, a super confusing ballot. So a bunch of old people who were lifelong Democrats for sure voting for Gore, they accidentally voted for Bush. Or is it Nader? I can't remember because I seen that you saw the ballot. The ballot was super confusing. It was very poorly designed, and that was West Palm.
Okay.
That happened was like, no, those West Palmers would not have been voting for Bush.
Well, anyway, in 2003,
at the time,
Palm Beach Police Department starts getting reports from the parents of young women. Or no, actually, scratch that. So in 2003, the Palm Beach Police Department got some reports from neighbors, probably, of Jeffrey Epstein, that they've been seeing a lot of young women going in and out of Jeffrey Epstein's home. So the police go to his home to check it out. And when they got there were women there, but they were all adults. And they all said they were doing, quote, office work.
Okay. I mean, Jesus Christ. This is the most gullible cops. What can you do? They look like office workers to me. Good clerical help. It's hard to find.
They probably went at 2:00 in the afternoon or, whatever. So I know.
I mean, God.
So then in 2005, Palm Beach Police Department gets a call from a mother, I think she was a stepmom, of a high school girl saying that high school girls were being brought to a gentleman's house for massages and that if he likes them, he'll keep them around to do more sexual stuff. And this gentleman's name was Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. So they think, okay, this is something worthy of investigation. So there's a detective who is on the case. His last name is Carey. He interviews probably this woman's stepdaughter, and they say they're approached by somebody probably at their high school or outside of their high school or at the mall or something like that. And they're being brought in for massages for a small amount of money, which it's like usually $200, $200 or $300. That's not a small amount of money when you're a high school girl.
Not at all. So we have to just massage some creepy guy.
Yeah.
For $200, $300. Okay. Mall money.
Yep. And that's how they get sucked into the whole thing. And then when they're in there and, starting to massage him or whatever, he starts masturbating and then will grab them and force sex on them. Some of them, probably not all of them. Some are able to get out of it, but that's what he's doing. He's sexually abusing teenage girls.
Until this parent does.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord.
So they find, you talk to one victim. Do you know anybody else who did this? And they give you names, and then you talk to them, and do you know anybody else? And so, which is shocking how he got his victims. He would do the same thing. God. A girl would come in and, by the way, if you have any friends who want to earn some money. So who's the
asshole who says, and tells their friends to go do, Christ.
Well, these are children.
Still. No, they're high school. You don't have this terrible experience with this creepy dude and then tell your friends.
I know, but let's not act like you know how a teenage victim of sexual abuse should behave.
It's just not a good. It's not a good thing to do to your friends.
It isn't. And
regardless of anything.
I know, but I'm not going to do any sort of blaming of these children. But so anyway, they find more and more victims, and they're basically describing full-on sexual assault and rape. Essentially, of these are all minor girls, usually 14 to 16 years old, and they were afraid not to do what he told them to do. He would send cabs to go pick up a girl from her home in West Palm Beach. And like I said, he would get girls to recruit other girls. And one girl said she had already been sexually assaulted in her life. And when he was clearly starting to grab her to do it to her, she had the strength to say, no way, don't touch me. And he said something like, that's fine, but do you know anybody else?
Jesus.
Do you have any friends you could bring over?
You have too much backbone. Do you have some friends? And she does.
And he said he would give her $200 per girl. She regrets this.
Yeah, well.
And, you know, she feels horrible. But this girl admitted to bringing around 24 girls to him. And he would pay her $200 per girl.
I mean, I know you don't want to blame them, but she's just greedy. And she's making money knowing these girls are going to have something bad happen to
Well,
them.
this
That's
particular
disgusting.
girl, I know. This particular girl who admitted this, she was one of the girls that was identified and interviewed by the Palm Beach Police Department. And when they were interviewing her, and this wasn't Detective Ricari because he was a real good guy, and he was he did a good job when he was interviewing these young girls. But I think some of his other people in the department, higher ups, would come in or whatever. And when she, you know, because she admitted to this, they told her she had just admitted to a pretty serious felony.
Yeah.
Like she was going to get in trouble too. She was 16.
Yeah.
And this probably started when she was like 14.
So it shows you, because this is going to get worse, this law enforcement and prosecutors being grotesquely, not just malfeasant, but criminally in protecting Jeffrey Epstein. So it shows you that started fairly early on and as low a level as police officers. I mean, that tells you the tendrils and the kind of sway these folks had. They were hearing something from something higher up.
Well,
for sure.
Not yet.
Well, then why are they doing that?
Well, because
they're clearly doing it to protect Jeffrey Epstein.
I know. Well, I don't know if they were yet.
They had to be.
This was improper. This happens all the time. No matter who the perpetrator is. But anyway, so
they knew who the perpetrator was, and then he was a very powerful rich dude who lived in a big mansion.
So they said this was basically a sexual pyramid scheme, you know, where he would get, you know, girls to bring in other girls, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
it was, you know, it's up his alley.
Yeah. Actually, a lot of this that I got, I'll put my sources in the thing because there's a lot of articles, but a lot of this comes from a Netflix documentary it's called like Filthy Rich or something like that, Jeffrey Epstein. So in this documentary, they do interview a woman who is an adolescent sexuality psychologist. I didn't know there was such a thing.
That's a thing.
But she basically says adolescent brains are not equipped to understand or react to what's happening when they're the victims of this kind of thing, which is true. These are young girls. Also, a lot of them come from backgrounds where they've already been abused. You know, they don't have the best parents. Some, you know, parents, you know, are in one girl, her dad went to prison when she was 3 and her mom was a drug addict. And then there's stepdad, you know.
Yeah, no,
so
I know.
Most of these girls are coming from a background that makes them targets of this kind of thing, which we know how that happens. And they're vulnerable and they're clearly not equipped to make the best decisions.
I know, but one of them could have told a parent, and it could have ended a lot sooner than it did.
And
a lot sooner than it did.
Yeah,
and a lot fewer victims because of that.
Some of the victims didn't even want to prosecute. You said, like, you know,
sure,
either because they were afraid of him, and they also
are embarrassed, or things are gonna be made public. And I get that.
There were a few that even like were kind of in love with him, and he said he's going to marry me, and you know, kind of gross stuff like that. And so they were not only talking to the victims, but also they were going to talk to, because they need to corroborate a lot of this stuff. So they talked to a lot of former employees, and most of them did not want to cooperate because they were afraid.
Yeah.
And they did serve a search warrant at this Palm Beach mansion, and they said it seemed like he had been tipped off because a lot of stuff was gone, computers and stuff like that.
Again, what I was telling you, he had people protecting him from day one of this, when it first came out. Yeah.
Or honestly, it could have been one of the girls, especially, you know, somebody that did, one of the girls who thought they were in love with him, or, you know,
possibly.
That kind of thing.
But you know, it feels like it would be a police source, because that's going to an extreme measure to get rid of your computers and things like that. So it seems a police source would say they've got a warrant, or they're going to get one. They're on the road to getting a warrant. You need to clean shit up.
Yeah. Well, so they weren't able to get stuff like that, but they did find memo pads that had things like, quote, she has a female for like a phone message pad.
Okay.
So something like that would say like, she has a female for him, like, call her back, because,
Okay.
that kind of thing. And another one that said something about like a certain girl couldn't come until a certain time because she had to stay at school that day. She couldn't leave school early or whatever. So that was valuable because it was evidence of, the age of these victims.
She had her 9th grade exams or something. Yeah.
So they go to the state's attorney in Florida, and they had over 40 victims, teenagers, minors so they said, we have these 40 plus teenagers who report having sex with an adult male in his 50s. And so the state's attorney didn't know who Jeffrey Epstein was.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's 2005, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
And he said he thought, oh, this is going to be an easy case, and this guy's going to go away for life.
Mm-hmm.
So Jeffrey Epstein is arrested, and he gets 8 really powerful defense attorneys, including Kenneth Starr,
God,
Alan Dershowitz, who was
monster.
Yeah, you know who he is, but he's kind of the lawyer to the worst of the worst.
Yeah, he was one of OJ's lawyers.
O.J.
And
Simpson.
the worst thing is that in the 80s, he built up a reputation as this champion of civil liberties and this liberal icon. He was never that. He was just always an opportunist, and he's disgusting.
Well, so in addition to O.J. Simpson, he defended Klaus von Bülow,
Classy,
who murdered his wife, Mike Tyson, rapist, Leona Helmsley,
piece of shit,
slumlord, horrible woman, and Patty Hearst.
Also a dick, but yeah.
So
yeah, just horrible people.
This defense team basically goes on the offense against the Palm Beach Police Department, specifically the detectives. They hire private investigators to go through their trash at home and at the police station, follow them, and start investigating their pasts to see if they could find any kind of incriminating information on them. And they go after the victims too. Mm-hmm. They start following the victims and sitting outside of their houses and stuff like that. So this is going to be a state's attorney prosecution.
Yeah, which is, I believe, like in California, that'd be the county DA. They work for, I think they work for the county, don't they? They're under the jurisdiction, I believe, of the state.
I don't know.
It's different. Local prosecutions are different state by state. In California, it's literally at the county level.
Yeah.
There's a city attorney too, but most crimes are like state crimes are tried at the county level. They're not tried by the state. I don't know if in Florida it's different.
I don't know how it works.
Might actually work for the state. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And they have what their jurisdiction is, probably a county.
Well, when they first brought the case to the state's attorney, they thought, oh, good, we're going to put this guy away for the rest of his life. Mm-hmm. Soon his attitude started to change, and all of a sudden they feel like, oh, these victims won't be good witnesses because they accepted money from him for these things. And, the Palm Beach Police Department is saying, these are children. They can't consent to sex with an adult. So whether or not they accepted money, doesn't matter. If you get a kid some candy to lure them, then, you didn't commit a crime. That's stupid. So in July of 2006, Epstein was charged with a single felony count of solicitation of prostitution. It does nothing specific to children.
Okay.
So
yeah. Do you know who the state? You have to say the name of that state's attorney because he deserves to live in infamy. And by the way, so state's attorneys in Florida, they are elected. They are kind of like what I said, DA, but instead of being at county level, there's 20 jurisdictions, 20 circuits.
Oh, okay.
And so this person was the state's attorney for that circuit that covered Palm Beach and West Palm Beach. So they're elected. I say we have to know who that person was so he can. By the way, do you know who the governor was at that time?
No.
That'd be Jeb Bush.
His name was Barry Kreischer. You were looking up to see if he was Republican
Barry.
or Democrat.
So the state attorney at the time that you were talking about, who had jurisdiction over this, was Barry Kreischer, a 16-year state's attorney for that district, a Democrat at the time. and he retired in 2009.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't...
Which means he didn't run again for re-election. He would have been reelected in 2004. So after this, he didn't run for re-election in 2008. I don't know how old he was, but I wonder if this had something to do with that.
Yeah. I don't know. It just tells you a lot of people are...
Yeah. I mean,
easily
he was bought off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was protecting...
or threatened, or, told this guy can...
threaten a state's attorney.
He's got high-level contacts.
So.
Well, this won't be the last time this happens. So.
I know.
But so anyway, he's charged with just that one single felony count. His attorneys, there's discovery involved, and his attorneys get to do depositions with victims and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's just brutal. They're awful. And, these aren't the perfect victims, like we said.
And the thing is, they know with absolute certainty, these lawyers, that their client is a pedophile and he's raped these girls. They know that. I don't want to hear anything about, it's the way our system works, or it's the adversarial system. Shut the fuck up. This monster that is your client is a monster, and you're doing everything in your power and then some to set that person free. You're a piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, we know that obviously people like Jeffrey Epstein prey on vulnerable, quote unquote, damaged girls. And it's just disgusting. And then the attorney, Alan Dershowitz, they some of them, like one reporter, because, it becomes public record and they get to read see some of the depositions and stuff. They redact names of victims and stuff like that. But questioning a girl about her abortions, that is relevant at all.
It's just
anything to
absolutely urine specimen.
Yeah. They deserve it, because if you've had an abortion, then, you deserve to be abused. Yeah. But Alan Dershowitz defends, the way they treated the victims, because says they have to bring up their backgrounds to evaluate their credibility in court.
Shut the fuck up. That's what criminal defense lawyers are in the business of, giving themselves excuses for being monsters.
Yep.
That's what they do. They have lots of them. They sound legal. They sound like they're like, we don't really have a choice. Yes, you do. You can tell the truth.
Yeah.
You can be a decent human being.
Jeffrey Epstein's defense team also made regular phone calls to reporters threatening them to not report on the story.
That's vile. That's not something that's just, we have to do that. You don't have to do anything. The whole idea of, like this, like we have to do these things. It's like businesses say, we have to maximize shareholder profits. That's why we do these scuzzy things. No, you don't. And criminal defense lawyers have built a system in which they've allowed themselves the liberty to lie and to cheat steal. You don't have the right to lie to get your client out, and that's what they do every day, or to use sleazy, dishonest tactics and disingenuous, implication, things like that, which is what the Alan Dershowitz is doing there, and what they do every day.
Yeah, I think as soon as you enter a courtroom, it's perjury to tell a lie.
Honestly, I think lawyers should be prosecuted for perjury every time they lie to defend their client, and they just would stop lying to defend their client. Well,
so the Palm Beach Police Department starts to get really frustrated, and they don't like the charges. They feel like there should have been way more charges, given all the evidence they had turned over to the state's attorney.
That was a lot.
So the chief of Palm Beach Police Department goes to the FBI.
Whoa, good for him.
He thinks,
what's his name? Let's give him his due.
Oh gosh,
damn
Dean.
Damn it, Carrie.
So you want to name him?
Yes, Rick Bradshaw.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
That's what AI says on Google. But yeah, good on you, Rick.
Yeah. So
I've said good on you twice, and I'm not from Australia.
So like I said, he went to the FBI. The FBI finds the report that they had gotten 10 years earlier from Maria Farmer, the artist, and her younger sister, the teenager. She her name was Annie. So they start an investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Also, some of the girls and their families have retained their own lawyer, and they're starting to file civil lawsuits against Epstein also. Brad Edwards is the attorney. If you've been following this, you've seen him on the news and stuff like that. He is the...
For some of the victims?
Huh?
For some of the victims?
A lot of the victims. Okay. And he said at this time, he truly believed Jeffrey Epstein was going to go away forever because of what he had done to so many victims. So Jeffrey Epstein's people start harassing Brad Edwards and his family. They follow him. They surveil his house. He's got a wife and kids. They start following his wife.
It's not okay. It shouldn't be legal. It should be prosecuted.
Yep. They do the same thing to
despicable.
the victims. So
guilty people go on the offense when their crimes are exposed. Period. Fact.
So
you won't do those things if you're innocent of it. You wouldn't.
No. So Jeffrey Epstein's defense hires private investigators to start also investigating the victims. They pose as law enforcement officers. They go to their homes, crimes.
For sure.
They try to intimidate them. One victim said the private investigator working for Jeffrey Epstein parked his car facing her bedroom window and just turned his brights on going into her bedroom window. She called Brad Edwards, her attorney. He sends his private investigator over there. And so the victim calls it the war of the private investigators because they're both videotaping each other doing what they're doing. And so the defense or the Brad Edwards PI ends up getting her, taking her out of her home and taking her away and tells the guy, don't follow her, leave her alone. But, he has to drive her like 2 hours away and pay to put her up in a hotel. And, why? That's not fair.
No.
So anyhow, this is the kind of stuff they're doing. Yeah. So the Florida...
That's harassing people so they don't tell the truth in court.
Exactly.
Again,
witness intimidation, also, all of it, crimes. So Palm Beach gives all of their evidence to the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office because they're not satisfied with the Florida state prosecution. And the U.S. Attorney is Alex Acosta.
Oh, the infamous Alex Acosta.
The infamous Alex Acosta. So when...
That's right.
Yeah.
I do remember that now.
When the Palm Beach chief of police met with him initially, he left the meeting feeling very optimistic that Jeffrey Epstein was going to go to prison for the rest of his life. And then nothing happened.
And Alex Acosta, are you going to follow up on who Alex Acosta
yes.
would like?
Yeah. So nothing happens for like 2 years. And every time they keep following up. They keep calling the U.S. Attorney's Office. It's just a massive case. We're investigating. It's just these things take time kind of thing. And Brad Edwards, the attorney for the victims, also calling. And he's always given the runaround. Eventually, the FBI says, we're not allowed to talk to you, Palm Beach Police Department.
Really?
Yep. And Alex Acosta meets with Jeffrey Epstein's lawyers, and then everything just stops. Mysterious.
I think this is now 2005, right?
No, this is later.
Oh, it's later. Okay.
Because it starts in 2005.
Okay.
And remember I told you nothing happens for 2 years.
Okay.
So we're in
2007
or early 2008. Mm-hmm. And, there's this federal investigator who's working on things, and she's the one that was doing witness interviews and stuff like that. And she was always very we're going to get him, and, we're going to put him away for a long time.
So she works for the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Yes.
That's overseen by Alex Acosta. Alex Acosta is the one, and by the way, U.S. attorneys in the United States are nominated by the president. So Alex Acosta was nominated by George Bush.
Okay. So when the whole case just kind of stops and falls apart, this poor woman has to call victims, and these victims said she was crying when she was calling them to say the case just fell apart. In June 2008, Jeffrey Epstein is brought into a Palm Beach courtroom, and this just happens out of the blue. Nobody's given any kind of warning. The media doesn't know about it. The Palm Beach Police Department doesn't know about it. The victims don't know about it. Their attorney doesn't know about it. And he's brought in for this very, very, very hush-hush hearing.
What time in 2008 was it?
June.
Okay.
That no advance warning for anybody, which would be weird.
Yes.
Something this high profile.
For sure.
You would think at least they would want police out there.
I think you'd have to tell the victim's attorney about that.
I would think you would have to too. So he's brought in for this hearing, and word gets out, so people rush over to the courtroom, and the victim or the attorney for the victims, Brad Edwards, does go there. And at some point, Jeffrey Epstein and his attorneys go up to a sidebar with the judge, and you can't hear what they're talking about, obviously. And then he's taken to the side of the courtroom where he's fingerprinted, and they do a DNA swab, and then he's taken out of the room. And it's not announced. Nobody knows what happens. Well, here's what happened. Apparently, they made a deal where he would plead guilty, and this was a deal worked out with the U.S. Attorney's Office, so Alex Acosta did this.
Yeah.
And he would agree to serve 18 months in jail. None of the victims knew anything about this, and it was for solicitation of prosecution. Prostitution, sorry. He could have gotten 15 years for that charge, but...
For that one, that's one charge,
yes.
when there could have and should have been many, many more.
Yes.
I mean, he literally should have been in jail forever.
For the rest of his life. But yeah, Alex Acosta thought 18 months was fair.
Yeah.
Because, as he would say later, it guaranteed jail time.
Okay.
Like there was any chance.
Show with these 20 charges that all have 15-year sentences. That would guarantee jail time too, dipshit.
Mm-hmm. So
the reason I asked the timing, by the way, in June 2008, is because what was happening in 2008? Presidential election. And by that time, it wasn't a certainty. It was still a close election, but it was clear that Barack Obama had a very good chance, was expected, was probably the slight favorite to win. When he took over in January of 2029, he would then put in a new U.S. attorney, not Alex Acosta, and that person could have prosecuted, and almost certainly would have prosecuted, Jeffrey Epstein to the full.
But was it
for much, much longer?
Was it a usual thing that presidents would fire U.S. attorneys?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, really?
No, they all change. Every one of them.
Oh,
no.
I thought they didn't.
No.
Okay.
I mean, if the U.S. attorney is a good, decent, nonpartisan person, but Alex Acosta was not that, the Democrats would have fired him.
Yeah.
For sure.
So he was, like I said, he was given 18 months, and he was in this kind of special section of the jail. It was a private wing, and the sheriffs, the Palm Beach sheriffs, were in charge of it. It was, the county jail.
Okay.
He was immediately given a work release deal where he was allowed out for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Okay. So
he had to be back in his cell by 8 p.m.
And he's basically sleeping in prison.
Yep.
Jesus.
He was given special food that no other inmates could get. He was given almost around the clock access to his attorneys that no other inmates get. And so he ends up serving 13 months in prison, then he gets out, or jail, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then he has 12 months of house arrest, which people said he violated on an almost daily basis. Brad Edwards' PI would go watch his house try to see if, and they knew when he was coming in and out of the house. And they would tell his probation officer every time. And they could say, we followed him. He's going to New York. He's getting on a plane. He's and they have pictures of him coming out of a hotel. He went for some meeting at, whatever kind of hotel. And they basically said, what do you want us to do about it? He's a celebrity.
Arrest. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
There really are two justices here. And it's not, I mean, there's a lot of racial to it, but at some level it's rich versus everybody else.
Yes. Yep. So, apparently part of this deal, not only was it a sweetheart, very little jail time kind of deal, he was also given immunity from other state charges any federal charges.
I would think the U.S. attorney could give you immunity for state charges, just federal charges. That I don't think would have held up in court.
Well, we'll see if this
no
holds up. But he was given immunity for not only himself,
for Ghislaine
Maxwell, and any other co-conspirators named and unnamed.
My God. So this is
I don't know how you could do this.
No reason to do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely no. There's no legal reason to do that.
Mm-hmm.
He has no leverage. He is incredibly guilty. He has overwhelming evidence against him that is pure corruption from Alex Acosta.
Yeah.
And his
100%.
minions. I mean, he's a disgusting human being.
And in this agreement, the victims were named as underage prostitutes. So that's how they.
So that's because that is reputation.
They devalue them.
Yeah, that they are prostitutes.
Yeah.
I think in some of his parties they would bring in actual sex workers in some of his parties in Manhattan and places back in the day. I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if they did or not, but
I think they did. But yeah, these high school girls are just they're sex workers, so therefore they can't be telling the truth.
Yeah. So this is where we're going to end this episode.
Wow,
on
feel
that
good. This is the feel good of the
note.
summer on
Yes.
Weird Wood Podcast.
But you brought up some things that we will revisit.
So the state's attorney didn't come out looking very good here, but then they kicked it up into the federal level where Alex Acosta, the U.S. attorney,
didn't. The state's attorney didn't kick it up. The Palm Beach police did.
That's true, but the state's attorney didn't do anything long enough. So where else do you turn at that point?
Yeah.
You have to turn to the federal government, and so they turned to the federal government. The federal government turned it over to Alex Acosta, and he is the monster that he is. He went and made sure and he protected his buddy Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know if they were friends or if he was part of that scene or not, but he certainly was protecting. Because let's remember, throughout this whole thing, it's not just Jeffrey Epstein. It's the people who Jeffrey Epstein is servicing, and that's not just Lex Wexner, because we'll get into, I'm sure, in part 2, is the famous Epstein files and the Epstein list.
Yes,
but there are lots of very famous and very powerful names internationally that were being serviced by Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile pimping activities.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that's what he was. That's what he did.
Yeah. But here's the thing. That could have all just ended right there if the U.S. attorney
for sure
had really prosecuted him the way he should have been prosecuted.
It was going on for years already, but it would go on for another almost decade because of this Alex Acosta didn't do what he should have done. Actually, more than that, because 2005, it could have happened. Alex Acosta could have prosecuted that guy in 05, 06 time frame, put him in jail forever, and the biggest international pedophilic sex ring in American history that we're aware of wouldn't have happened or wouldn't have continued.
Yeah.
There's a special ring in hell for these people who aided and abetted this guy.
Yep. So stay tuned for part 2.
Part 2. We'll see you next time, folks.
Thanks for listening.